Hello.
Hello, welcome to Unfortunate Oxfordians. I'm joined by someone else who's very unfortunate.
So unfortunate, yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Dora. I grew up in East Oxford as well, like Rose Hill way, Iffley, Rose Hill. And then I also went to Oxford Community School, a couple of years below you. And then I moved to Bristol 4 and a bit years ago now for uni, and then just stayed because I love it. So now I've been living here for like over 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think I was here for 5 years in total.
Were you?
And then left 2 years ago.
I love it.
There's something about Bristol that, like, I don't know, I still say it's my spiritual home. But the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I wanted to see if it's not just me. There seems to be a lot of people from Oxford who tend to move to Bristol. And I wanted to know,
100%.
is there similarities in the culture or something you heard about Bristol?
Do you know what I think it is, right? So I moved to Bristol, like I didn't really have I knew I wanted to come here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why exactly. I just had this real kind of gut feeling that I wanted to be in Bristol. And I think it's because like a lot of older family friends had already moved here.
Yeah.
My mum actually worked here for like 7 years. She worked at UE. She was commuting back and forth between Oxford and Bristol.
Yeah.
So like it was just one of those things where it was like on my radar.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to go there. I need to go there.
Yeah.
And then and then I was like, oh, okay, Bristol Uni's doing the course I want to do. I'll come. But I think it's something about that. I don't know, like Oxford's so small, and then Bristol's just like that little bit bigger, more going on, but it's not like so huge like London, where it can be a bit overwhelming for someone who's grown up in a small city.
Yeah.
So and it's nearby, and it's like kind of alternative.
Yeah.
It's got like a lot. It's got something for everyone.
Yeah.
That's what I always say about Bristol. It's like no matter what kind of person you are, you'll find something for you in Bristol.
Well, I think it's kind of liberating in a sense because it allows you to be whatever person you want to be.
100%, yeah.
Which I feel like other cities, I'm not sure where I stand on Oxford with this, but I'm not sure if it entirely does allow you to really be who you want to be. There's kind of like pressure to conform to a particular subgenre, like style.
Yeah, I know I mentioned to you before that I found I was always a bit confused in Oxford in terms of like who I was and like where I fit in. And yeah, I feel like in Bristol I feel like much more.
Why would you say?
Because my family background is like I come from like middle class family. We never it was always nice and comfortable. I come from a very secure home. I'm very lucky in being very close to my family, etc. And then I was always like in primary school and in secondary school I was like the poshest girl in school because I went to I lived just off a council estate. I went to like a very rough school that you've spoken about before, which I loved, but like I was 100% the posh girl.
Just for the record, it was rough, but I think it was amazing.
I think it was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was definitely like. I'd agree. Like it had that community feel. I feel like again there was something for everyone there, and it was like.
It really harnessed like creativity.
Yeah, 100% harnessed creativity.
And diversity.
Yeah.
That was really. I think that was really important, especially being a young person growing up. When you're growing up around so many different types of people, there's like literally no room to adopt ideas of like racism and homophobia and stuff.
Like I loved that, and I felt, and as I say, like although I was like taking the piss out of ruthlessly for being super posh, it was always with love. Like it was always in a friendly way. Like it was my persona. But it also just meant that I was always a bit like I always felt a little bit like an outsider because I was like, well, I'm the posh girl in school. Like I don't have the same kind of like background as a lot of my peers, but also really loved that. And I was kind of proud of it in terms of like being from Oxford Community School and being, as you say, from like growing up with so many diverse people and diverse cultures and languages and everything. And then I came to Bristol, and it was like I suddenly went from being the posh girl to going to Bristol Uni, which has got some of the highest proportion of private school educated like students in the country, and suddenly I was the commoner, and I was the like, but then I'd say I was from Oxford, and people would be like, but like why did you
ghetto?
Yeah, literally, that's what I was like. I genuinely got called ghetto by someone once, and I was like, I grew up in like what are you talking about? Do you know what that is? Like it was just so wild to me. And I remember someone else being like, oh, how on earth did you get into Bristol Uni if you didn't even go to a grammar school? And like all of those things, and
did it make you think to yourself, how did I at any point?
No, not at all. It made me be like, well, I'm here and you're here, so like, what does that say about? Although I did get in on a like on a, what's it called? One of those offers which like you can get in with like a lower grade.
Bursary.
Not a bursary, but like as in I was meant to get like AAB or something, or ABB, and I got BBB, but they were like, oh, but because you went to this rough state school,
I see.
like you can still come in. And I did feel a bit guilty about that because I felt like that shouldn't go to me. I felt a bit like, I felt a bit weird about
slightly similar, but slightly different. I had a lot of that during university. Like lots of opportunities were presented to me that I didn't realise until after I looked back at it and realised I actually got this opportunity because I'm black and from certain background. Which on one hand, you know, I'm grateful for having the opportunity, but I don't want to be given an opportunity based on something. Something that isn't my talent or my.
I know what you mean. And there was a part of me that felt a bit like that. But it was, I don't know, it was just such a weird culture. Like
poor privilege.
And I think, I know, like some comments were made to me about that as well before now. And like, just in general being like, it was just very strange. And like, I remember in Freshers Week, one of the questions that was asked, you know, the first questions, like, which is a standard in Freshers Week, it's like, oh, so what do you study? Blah, 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 all of those. Where are you from? And one of them was, so did you apply to Oxford or Cambridge? That was one of the first questions because
everyone else did.
Everyone applied to get into Oxford or Cambridge, and they didn't get in, and they went to Bristol instead.
Wow.
And I was always like, I didn't apply to either because growing up in Oxford made me never want to even. I mean, not that I'd have got in, but like never want to go to like Oxford or Cambridge. Like the idea was like, I do not want to be. Not to be offensive to people who go to those unis, but I don't want to be around those people because I had so many bad experiences with Oxford uni students growing up in Oxford. Yeah.
Well, there's definitely like a huge divide.
There's such a big divide
between like the residents and the student community. Maybe it's different in like kind of north and the west of Oxford, but definitely where we grew up, I felt so displaced from them.
Yeah, like really, and I didn't like them. Like if I, you know, even go like when I'm a bit older, go into pubs and stuff. If I saw people who were clearly students, I was so like anti them. I didn't want to go to uni after I finished school, but I didn't go for a year because I was really just like weirdly anti-student because I was just like, oh, they're all just really posh and really like not with it, and I don't want to be in that crowd. So and it was all a bit weird. And then so as I say, I went from kind of being my identity was you're different because you're posh to my identity being you're different because you're not. And it was like I couldn't get my head around the switch. And I felt like really like I don't even want to. I didn't even for the like first year of my uni like life, I didn't even want to like interact with people who were from like these really posh schools and stuff, which is crazy now because it's like actually I was like stereotyping them before they even had the chance to stereotype me.
Before we get, I'm going to really get into that, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask more specifically about growing up in Oxford. I find it really interesting that you can say I'm from a middle class family, but you grew up in Rose Hill, because the Rose Hill I know is quite rough.
I know.
For lack of a better term.
My family's an interesting one. Yeah, it is rough, and I think I don't know what it is, but like I grew up not in the actual council estate, so just opposite. But I think my family. Like, my parents were always from like young, like they both went, my dad went to boarding school.
Okay.
My mum went to a grammar school in Cheshire, in like a really posh part of like Greater Manchester.
Housewives of Cheshire.
Yeah. Is Cheshire in Greater Manchester? I think so. Anyway, my geography's bad.
Well, Greater Manchester's in Cheshire. No.
One or the other. Yeah, something. And I think both of them, and then they went to uni and they were both massive, like they were really active in kind of in terms of political activism, left-wing stuff. They were both, and my mum and dad was, because in like the early 90s, South Africa, no, not the early 90s, way before that anyway, South Africa was playing England in a rugby match, and they ran onto the pitch with a group of mates and like scattered drawing pins to protest because they were like, England shouldn't be playing South Africa whilst apartheid's still going on. And then like huge so they were just very active in that kind of, and I think they were just so anti like the idea of being apart because you've got money and being and going to.
Would it be safe to say they were socialists?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, my parents are definitely socialists. And also, to be fair, when they first moved to Oxford, they didn't take any family money because socialists, and then so that when they moved to Oxford, they were squatting when they first moved. They didn't have any money, and then they were living in this tiny house in Blackbird Leys that like they couldn't afford the heating, they couldn't this and the other, with like 3 kids under the age of 5. So my siblings had a very different childhood than I did because they were all a bit older than me. But by the time I came along, my parents were both like quite well established in their careers. They were doing like they'd bought a house just off like in Rose Hill. So yeah, I think that's why.
Have you ever found that you have like feel different to your siblings in that case?
Oh yeah, I do.
So are you the posh one amongst your siblings?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm the posh one amongst my siblings, but I'm definitely the I'm most privileged.
Okay.
In terms of like.
So you're the youngest as well?
I'm the youngest as well.
That's already a privilege.
That's already a privilege, yeah. I know. But like, for family holidays when I was younger, we would like once a year we'd go to France for a week.
Yeah.
Or to Spain for a week, which I'm really great, very lucky to be able to do this family holiday once a year. When my siblings were younger, they used to get the train with all of their bikes on it up to Scotland and camp in the rain. And like, wow. Yeah, it was just and that was like the fun, like family holiday. Yeah, and like they, it was just, so I definitely, and especially my older brothers, because they're 33 and 31. Yeah. I'm 23.
Are they living in Oxford?
One of them lives in Bristol.
Okay.
And 2 of my siblings live in Bristol, my brother and my sister. And then my oldest sibling lives in Belgium.
Cool.
But they definitely had a very different experience growing up than I did in terms of just being comfortable.
I wanted to ask also, what was it like in your community? Because you spoke about what it was like at school, kind of being seen as the posh one. In your direct community, I'm guessing it's Rose Hill still. Did you feel like a displacement between people like literally around you? Well,
it's interesting because actually growing up, my community felt more like Florence Park.
Okay.
Like I was born on Florence Park Road.
Okay. And the Jolly Post Boys?
Yeah, like opposite Jolly Post Boys.
They do a really nice Sunday reggae roast.
Do they?
Yeah, just shout them out.
Oh,
yep.
I was born on that with no midwife, by the way. Madness.
Wow.
I know, it was a whole thing.
So your mom just...
Yeah, I mean, called midwife. Midwife didn't come, so my mum gave birth to me with just my dad and my brother in the room, and my other brother was taking my younger sister, my older sister, around to a neighbour's house to get me out, and then I was just born in that house.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. My mum is quite a woman.
I'm sure she loves telling that story. She must be quite proud of that.
Oh, she does. Yeah, she is quite a woman. Shout out my mum.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for my siblings, all of their friends growing up were from that area.
Okay.
Like Florence Park, East Oxford.
Yeah.
And so growing up, my community felt like the East Oxford hippie vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
Very much like, and kind of political, activist, hippie thing. And like, I had a few friends in Rose Hill, but that wasn't really I don't think that was really my community. And Littlemore, I went to primary school in Littlemore.
Which school was that?
John Henry Newman.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
John Henry Newman. And all of them. That was interesting.
That was funny. That was my catchment area at the time.
Was it?
Because I lived in Littlemore for a long part of my younger years.
Did you?
But I had already gone to school in just off Iffley Road, SS Murray and John.
Oh yeah. That's classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
but it was interesting because obviously like I was living close to John Henry Newman, but going to school a bus journey away.
That is why?
Well, I moved about a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
so when I first went to that school, I was like right next door, but then we moved about a lot, and I ended up further away, basically.
Do you know what just sprung to mind? It's interesting you said, was I the posh one of my siblings? Because I just remembered a thing of, because I was, as I say, posh going to school, and also, whoever I'm around, I adopt their accent a little bit. If I'm around people who talk really posh and proper, I'll end up talking quite posh and proper. If I'm around people who are talking, I don't really, I always adopt who I'm speaking to, which apparently is a good thing because I was always like really embarrassed about it, and someone was like, no, it just means you pick up on the people around you. I was like, okay, it's good.
And it's quite comforting.
But I remember being at home once and I was talking a little bit like this. I was talking like because I've been hanging out with someone that day and I was trying to be cool and whatever, like not that and in front of like my sister's friends and my brother's friends were around and my parents, my sister was just like, Dora, why are you talking street? Like that's as if you're street. Like called me out, and I was like so embarrassed because I was like, no, I'm not. This is just how I talk. Like it's just because of my friends and whatever. So like it was. So yeah, as I say, I was always a little bit confused about where am I? Like, how do I? Yeah, I was always a little bit confused.